Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and today we're going to mill a walnut log on the sawmill. Now, this particular walnut log has a tremendous amount of bow to it. I cut this tree down maybe a month ago, something like that, and before I cut it, I kind of thought the tree was coming out of the ground at an angle, but then mostly running straight. Then you get it on the ground and you look at it and you say, wow, that has so much more bow than I thought. And now I don't know if we can get a good yield out of it or not. Anyway, let's just get the log up here and see what we get. First factor here is even if this was straight, the mill says 198 inches is the milling length, 197. So if we were going to cut this all at once, it would be up against it tight down there. But man, look at the amount of bow out there is right there. Now, I think the key here is picking the perfect spot to make this cut. Man, this looks like the straight section, but there's still a huge gap in here. I think part of that may be there's a flare out at the bottom of the tree. So what if we go from here to here? Yeah, that's going to be your best straight section. And if we make a cut there, we're going to get 9 feet, which 9 feet is a good length, because even after drying and having some checking on the end, you're still going to get a full 8-foot board. The other section of that will be left is just over 7 feet. So figure we can have some 8-foot boards and some 6-foot boards. And it actually feels like, now this piece here, if you subtract these 2 little knots that the scale's sitting on, this piece will be reasonably straight as well. I'm going to set it down and cut it right here. Woo doggy. There is still a lot of bow in this log. I'll show you down here. See, we're touching the deck here, and this has a little bit of a swoop up on the end. We're touching there. Top is reasonably straight. And we get down here. Now this is my first time milling a bowed log. But I have seen Nathan from Out of the Woods talk about this, and he always says to put your bow up in the middle. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to roll it over until it's touching on both ends. I should probably go ahead and put my log stops down before I roll this up against them. If you saw my last episode on the mill, I put these marks on here, and the 5-inch mark is even with the top of this deck. So my log stops are 5 inches above the cutting deck. I've got corresponding marks on my height adjustment. Not the scale I'm using to measure my boards with, but on the actual bar. And so I know that my last cut can't be past the 4-inch mark. This is where it's frustrating, because this is a lot of waste right here. I said 1.5 inches. We've got more, probably more than 2 inches here. Now, when I say waste, this isn't going to go to waste. It's just not going to be made into lumber like you might want. And you could have got the middle half of this from about the first 2 feet down. I could have trimmed some bark off and then had a piece of 1-inch live edge. Might have been worth doing, but we're past that now. This is going to get cut every 16 inches into firewood. I really just love the smell of walnut. And even more than that, so right now it's really light, but this will darken up so nice. That swing I made out of walnut was just beautiful, and people thought I used a dark stain on it, and that was just the natural color. I used a clear lacquer. But before I came out here to do this, I really thought about, do I want live edge or do I want the dimensional? And I'm looking at this thinking, man, that live edge would be so nice. I just don't have a use for it right now. So we're going to continue with the plan here. I think the best bet for rolling this by hand, by myself, people put PVC on their log stops so that when you roll it, it slides down that PVC. But really, for a log this size, I would just rather slide the log out and then roll it. It'll be trial and error, and I do think it's dependent on log size. It is definitely too soon to tell if I like the 5-gallon bucket for dust collection. I think that's largely going to depend on how long it takes to fill the bucket. But I do like that I have a clear line of sight, and just my natural routine for doing this has me looking in that bucket to see if it's full. At that moment, it was like the saw wanted to stop. And I thought possibly I was hitting a piece of metal or something, but there was a piece of bark laying across the track and the wheels were hitting it. So those two cuts were basically wasted. Since I wasn't going to use, nothing that has been cut off was usable. So I'm cutting bark and wearing out my saw blade when I haven't got to where this is square yet. The first cut should have been about another inch down from here so that I'd have a square corner to make my last turn and then start making our lumber out of. I was about halfway through this cut and my bucket got full and I just kept going. And that could lead to a buildup of sawdust in here, which would be a bad deal to run it with your sawdust pushing back into your blade chamber. Results are in. Using this 5-gallon bucket, I need to empty it probably multiple times per log. Doesn't appear that it hurt anything, but it definitely has that potential. Next question, especially for you guys that follow along and know everything I have going on. What do I want to do with my sawdust? Potential exists that it can be useful for different things. It can be mixed into compost. Some people will buy sawdust. You can potentially turn it into pellets. What realistically do I want to do? And since I don't know, I think I'm just going to start a pile right around the corner of the Quonset hut, just for now. The boards we get today will be 8.5 wide, 9 feet long. So the fact that this was bowed definitely affected the yield, but 1x8's 9 foot long, that's usable lumber. This will probably be the last time I stop the saw until the whole thing's done. But I just want to show you what the grain looks like on this. It's fantastic. I've never seen walnut look that light, but we'll do the follow-up. All of it's going to look like this right here in a month. That's my theory anyway. When I came out and turned the camera on, my plan was to mill both sections of this log because I knew I would have to cut it in half. But I have an appointment that I have to be at that's 2 hours from here, and I've got to be there in 2 hours and 15 minutes. But I'm developing a nice little stack of wood off my mill, and that's a really cool feeling. And I think this walnut is going to make something fantastic down the road. And I hope that you guys stick around and are part of that. I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. Put links on the screen to more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.